the old Twitter or whatever, but then linking that to why were they deplatformed? Who told them to deplatform? And if we could somehow, with internal review, create a linkage between some information that came from something the State Department paid for and an actual aggrieved party, that's what's important. Because I think that one thing is to point to the high-profile cases, which we're aware of. But I think when people see that there were actually just individual, everyday Americans that were deplatformed and for whatever, silenced because somebody associated with this program identified them, I think that's what's really going to be eye-opening to a lot of people. But we didn't want to wait for that to take action. We know enough to already act.
Right.
But we obviously want to know the depth and the scope of this. That's going to happen. Yeah,
right.
It's already happening.
This is a program that has been shrouded in secrecy. Journalists like Matt Taibbi have tried to FOIA for many of these grants and contracts and have encountered the stonewall. So this is, I think, amazing news. Yep. I know that you're a very busy man and appreciate all the time here. So the final question is on the international stage. As you are repositioning the State Department to have the U.S. once again be the global beacon for free speech and liberty, we face threats around the world from censorship laws coming out of the European Union, coming out of Brazil, coming out of really a network of countries that have taken the legitimacy of things like the Global Engagement Center and said, oh, it's okay in the Western world to have media literacy programs, information integrity, malinformation programs. And many of those Global Engagement Center ecosystem partners have been involved in the shaping of those foreign laws. Many have been funded by the State Department and USAID, being signatories on the EU Code of Disinformation, implementing the EU Digital Services Act, which was threatened to be turned against Americans when Elon Musk famously had that X-Space with Donald Trump during the election season. So my question to you is there any insights that you can provide to the American people about how the State Department is going to go about once again restoring free speech in a world where we are facing foreign threats from the European Union and Brazil and other places to Americans' ability to talk?
Yeah, so the first thing, obviously, is our number one priority is Americans. So we don't want to see an American who happens to be living in London or happens to be living in Europe post something online about American politics or any politics, and all of a sudden they're facing ramifications over there, or they're denied entry, and something happens, we're denying them into our country, or we're going to arrest them because they posted something while living overseas. So our number one interest is the impact it has on Americans. The broader point, which is the one I think the Vice President made very clear in Munich at the security conference, and people freaked out about what he said, but it's true. What is it that links us with Western Europe? What is it that links us with these? It's our shared values. And one of those shared values, we hope, is freedom of expression. I know they don't have a First Amendment, but freedom of expression, right? And if that is eroded, if suddenly these become places where people are targeted because of what they said or what their opinion is, then one of the pillars of our shared interest, beyond military cooperation, beyond anything else, is under attack. And I think he made a very vibrant point that in some ways you are by attacking freedom of expression, you are attacking one of the pillars of our shared interest, our shared culture, our shared values. And so I think we've raised that. I mean, I can tell you we were at an Oval Office meeting with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and this issue came up. So this has been raised. It becomes part of our diplomatic situation that we raise when we interact with foreign interlocutors. I think what's troubling is we understand, that's always going to be an issue when certain countries around the world, but when you're dealing with Western European allies, and that's who you're talking to about this stuff, it really tells you how far it's gone and how big a problem it is. So that's a new thing for us to have to raise in those capitals, but we do it, and we do it everywhere. And I personally witnessed the President and the Vice President raise it with multiple foreign leaders. And I think you're going to continue to see an emphasis on that in our diplomacy and what we talk about.
That's fantastic. And I think the actions today will send a message to those foreign bodies that what was done for a very brief period here, really in the scope of our history, is not a legitimate way to pursue international laws. And just on the EU Digital Services Act, I'd feel remiss if I didn't mention that the EU commissioning body there threatened Elon Musk, a non-EU citizen, talking to Donald Trump, a non-EU citizen
during the campaign in October,
and threatened them specifically not to talk about the unrest, the street protests in the UK at the time. The UK is no longer a member of the EU, so the EU was threatening, and today we're hearing they're threatening $1 billion in fines against X for non-compliance with disinformation. And we've seen the head of their commission target non-EU citizens talking to non-EU citizens about non-EU territories. And so this is just one of these things, as this code becomes mandatory in July, to know that the State Department is focused on protecting free speech both within and without is I think, an important thing.
Well, just beyond Elon, if a country or a group of countries, in the case of the EU, although it considers itself sort of a country because these countries have, given over a significant amount of sovereignty in order to become a member of the EU, when you have foreign entities taking actions that go after Americans for speech,
yes,
that becomes a foreign policy irritant for the United States, and more than an irritant, it becomes an impediment in some cases to cooperate when they're going not just after a high-profile person like Elon, but anybody for that matter. I mean, I think if you extend this out, you could see it, threatening commentators, threatening people that are opining about world events, potentially threatening office holders in the United States. Right. I mean, so what if a American political figure, on the left or right, criticized something that was happening in Europe? Imagine right now if all these people freaking out over Bukele in El Salvador were suddenly being threatened by some Western Hemisphere version of the EU. Oh, we're going to come after you because you're attacking the president of El Salvador. And the left would be freaking out.
Right.
So I think that this is a very legitimate issue for us to raise as a bilateral, or in this case with the EU, irritant in our foreign policy. It has to become part of one of the things that we raise when we interact with them about the impact this is having on American citizens. At the end of the day, the number one priority of the State Department is to serve the national interest of the United States and the interest of the American people. We work for the American people.
Right.
It's the United States Department of State.
Yes.
So that we need to return that principle in everything we do, including this.
Right, and this is such a fair and frankly merciful way of doing this as well. It sounds like you don't want the power to go after the other side for misinformation and things like this.
Oh, we would be here all day. Yeah,
right.
I could build a whole building to go after that.
Right, exactly.
But the best way to do it is just to say they're lying, here's the truth.
Right.
That's why we have things like this today,
right.
And that's why we're able to interact with you and others. That's the best way to do it. And it's annoying, don't get me wrong. I mean, they say things that aren't true. Every day stuff is leaked in the press that's reported on as fact, and it's not fact.
Right.
Or stuff is reported in commentary. Look, commentators say what they want. Mainstream newspapers and mainstream media outlets report things as fact that are completely not true. So our approach to that is not shut them down, not fine them. Right. Our approach to that is to say they're lying. Here's the truth.
Right.
It's harder, it's annoying, but that's the best way to do it. If you don't do it that way, then you recognize that someday in the future, if you create this power to shut that down, someone in my position will do it to us. Right. And I just think that begins to devolve very rapidly, as we've seen with this experiment that they did.
You're putting the censorship gun down, and the American people are incredibly grateful for it. So thank you so much.
It was the right thing to do.
Today.
Thank you. And thanks for your attention to this topic. I know you've been on this a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.